Hello and welcome back everyone to the next episode on SAP DataSphere training come data warehouse cloud training with me Anubhav. In our last episode we talked about the concept of working with SAP DataSphere. SAP DataSphere we have discussed about how can you utilize the SQL code or SQL script to create your SQL views. We compared the difference between SQL views and SQL script. So we also talked about SQL script and also integrating SQL script with the data flow eventually. Then we discussed about containers and also written a use case for our SQL script code. In today's session, we are going to start with understanding some of the administration and monitoring topics, including the concept of data access control. So in order to proceed with the next set of topic, it is mandatory that we have administration privileges to the DataSphere account. If you remember, we are using currently the SAP Experience account. The SAP Experience account, if you look at the options here, there is literally nothing I can do in terms of administration. For example, if I come to the space management, there is no possibility that I can change this space. This space is defaulted by SAP. I cannot go and change my space. I also cannot monitor or I also cannot create a new space. Moreover, you see also here on the left side, there is nothing called administration option to administer my account. Yeah. So these things are not available when it comes to the the experience account. Yeah. In experience, you can also see on the top guided experience account, you see the URL experience. So in this, there are limitations. Limitations are this is an account for testing, learning purpose, yet it doesn't offer all the features like administration, user management, memory management, controlling, also monitoring, some monitoring feature, space management, space sharing, all these features it doesn't offer. But it should not stop us to learn those features. So I have two options for that. Option number one, for the next set of features, some of them which will be discussed today, you can use your company DataSphere account, which is a productive account. Option two, you can set up a free tier account. Yes, a free tier account is what you can set up. Now, what does a free tier account? A free tier account in SAP DataSphere basically allows you to deploy your own DataSphere, but there is a little cost associated with that. It's not free. It's not 100% free. It is called free tier, but actually it allows us to add features, to add features which are not free. Okay. So I will now show you the process to go ahead and apply a free tier account so that you will be able to utilize you will be able to utilize the features of free tier in your company. Yeah, that is what I will be able to show it to you now. Now, couple of differences between free tier and free trial. As I already mentioned, a free trial account or experience account which we are using doesn't offer any administration capabilities. You cannot do administration at all with that. But a free tier account gives you full administration capability. It is like a productive account, real account in your company. It can be used for doing POCs. It can be used for doing, case studies. It can be used in your company to showcase the capability to the management with a very little cost. In a free experience account, which we are currently using so far in our training, no credit card details were required. But in a free tier account, your credit card details will be required in order to register. In a free experience account, we do not get all the major administration monitoring capabilities and space management, but in a free tier account you will get all that because it will be your own instance. And the last but not the least, in a free experience account, you have no access to the backend. Backend as in your database where your actual data is getting stored in HANA, that you don't have access. But in a free tier account, you will have full access with a database user to your backend database. Like in a BW system, if you work with BW system, on-premise BW system, you have full access to your BW system and your Oracle or HANA database also with HANA Studio. You can go and check what's going on there. Yeah. So that is the benefit you get. But remember, there is a cost associated. There is a cost associated with the free tier account. So I will just put here the steps of how you can register a free tier account. So there are four different stages through which you can register a free tier account with SAP BTP. These steps are maintained in the PPT also, so you can follow along the PPT. So step one will be creating an individual SAP store account. So one important thing, it is okay to have a Gmail account or Yahoo account to create a free tier account. You don't need to be part of a company, or you don't need to have a company account or company email ID. Anyone like you, me, or any individual can go and create a free tier account with SAP Store. But remember, you have to give your credit card details. And if you are using some non-free services, then there will be a charge which will incur. Also on top of it, they will charge you little bit, a small amount fees at the beginning, like a dollar, $1 or something. Plus, they will also charge you some monthly maintenance fee, which is very little, like $10 or something. But apart from that, if by chance you have activated some services or you have exceeded the quota for allowed services, then you will also end up paying more money from on your credit. So please do use this option only and only if you're really interested to look at the upcoming features, some of the upcoming features which I will demonstrate. However, it is also fine that those features you don't want to learn or experience. Some are related to administration, which are also fine. You can skip those features. Yeah. So it is completely up to you to decide which option, sorry, which option you want to use when it comes to using the free tier account. So we will go these, sorry, we will go with these steps now one by one, and we will learn how to set up our free tier account. So I will also provide the link for SAP Store. SAP Store is a central place where you and me or your company will go and purchase SAP subscriptions as well as SAP services. So step one will be creating a store account. Then we will create a BTP global account and we will activate the BTP global account. And then we will create assign entitlements, create sub accounts, and then finally we will start SAP DataSphere for free. Again, remember it is free, but there will be a little minimal charge which will incur in your credit card. So that is what will happen actually. There will be a little minimal charge which will incur on your credit card. So what I will do now, I will just go ahead and I will be registering a free tier account. So we need to go to SAP Store. So what is the link for SAP Store and how can we go about it? Yes. So let's look at that. One second. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how to log into SAP Store. What is the link for SAP Store and how can you opt for a free tier account? So I will just go ahead and show you that. So this is the link of SAP Store, store.sap.com, DCP/EN. EN is the language English. And now we can go to the SAP Store, and on SAP Store we will be creating an individual account. Now if you have already created an individual account with SAP in the past for, let's say, trying out SAP experience or anything else, or like BTP, the same account can be used. Same Gmail account with SAP can be used to authenticate yourself and register for the free tier. Yes. So today we will focus on step number one, because the step number one itself will take about 3 to 4 hours, but we will leave it where we need it. And then the remaining part, however, I will demonstrate in my company server. So I have a company server also, and for all of you to, learning should not stop for all of you, and that's where I will use my company server to demonstrate the feature. But when you practice, you guys can go ahead and use my free tier account. I will also post a complimentary end-to-end video as well later on. Once my free tier account is active, I will also share a complimentary video with all 4 stages. As these stages are time taking and they are cumbersome, they will take time to get completed. I will post the video, one single video for everything. So let's get started. Excuse me. Okay, so let's go to SAP Store, store.sap.com, and remember you should use incognito window to avoid any cookie problems. So we come here to store.sap.com and we log in. I log in with my Gmail ID which I've been using. You can register a new account if you want. So you can click on new register. So I'm just showing you registration. Since I've already registered, it will give me an error. I'm just entering my details. Click on continue. You see, I'm already registered. Yes, which we register for experience account. So same account can be used. So which means we can just go ahead and log in. So we return to sign in, and now we will just not register. We have already registered in the past. So I will now log in. So you see, I'm using my Gmail account to create a free tier account. There is no company account needed for that. Let me enter my detail and password, of course. Enter my password. It logged me in on SAP Store. And now you can just go ahead and check your orders if you have done some orders in the past. So I go to my orders. I will have nothing. It's a fresh account, guys. I'm creating for all of you. It's a very fresh account. I have no past orders. So you see, I have no past orders. I don't have any past company things. So we created an account. Second is we need to now create a BTP global account on SAP Store. So we come back to SAP Store. You can also choose what are you looking for to find a relevant solution. Are you want to buy a new software or extend? You can use different options here to choose for existing products. What is your purpose? You can find a solution. So you can see these are the solutions you can activate on free tier. However, we will go back and now we will choose SAP Business Technology Platform in the search to search for BTP, because BTP is our backbone for DataSphere. Yes, DataSphere runs on top of BTP. So I search for SAP Business Technology Platform. Remember, the search is not very good here on this SAP Store. I personally experienced issues with the search. Sometimes it doesn't work properly. You see, it's so you got to just go back and try again. Yeah, so maybe on the left side I go back BTP, all BTP. So this is the BTP platform. So you see, try BTP for free. So this is how you will opt for a free tier account. So you can see you can access across 50 plus services for free in this free tier account. And if you're a new user, you can go to SAP BTP store. If you are an old user, you can also go there. There are links. So, and then you see pricing plans. So pay as you go plan. What is pay as you go plan? Pay as you go plan means in this plan, it's free and there is a paid tier option. So someone who is an individual for short-term projects, creating POCs, experimentation, hands-on experience with new services, if you want to take, yes, you will go with the pay as you go plan. In a pay as you go plan, you are the one who is adding your credit card detail, and you will basically in future might also pay for a productive account. There's a nice video also they are showing here. Then you can also, if you are going for your company, then you saw there was an option for 10,000 euros, 10,683 US dollar for a yearly plan, for an enterprise plan for BTP. So now I go with the pay as you go plan for individual. It'll ask me, are you a company or individual? So it is asking me to log in again. I just log in. It's just authenticating. And then it will ask me whether I'm a company or I'm an individual, how I want my free tier account to be. Yes. So of course we will choose purchase at individual because I'm alone, and this is purely for me for learning and training. It defaulted country to US. I can't change it at the moment, which is okay. I will just give a dummy address now. So let me give a address over here. Click on continue. So there will not be any cost for a DataSphere in this free tier. So you see one flat free tier for 3 months I want to go, and on the right side you see the cost is $0. Yeah, cost is $0. So start date is today. It's a 3 month plan we are taking. It will renew automatically. You can cancel it anytime within 30 days. Yes, I can click on checkout, and now it will ask me credit card details. Guys, this feature will allow you full administration access of DataSphere, which the features which I will demo you today, you can't use those feature in experience account. You can do it with free tier. It is asking my credit card detail now. Yes. So you see there are card details I need to enter. So at this moment, I need to pause my video and provide my credit card details quickly. They're already stored in my browser. I'm picking it up. So I pause my video and I'm just entering my credit card detail really quick. This is live, guys. This is live we are doing for you. Okay, I entered that. I resume video again. And now you see all the details, buyer details, address detail. I say place order. So it is now sending an OTP to me. Yes, I got the OTP. Let me validate. And they are going to, so this right now they will charge $1 fees on your credit card to validate your credit card. $1 fees will be charged. You see, done. Your order has been done. Order is processed. We will notify you by the email. Yes. So what happened is we have created a free tier account. Now remember, after this step, you got to wait. How many hours? 3 to 4 hours on a working day. So is this today working day? No. Today is Sunday. So you have to wait 3 to 4 hours. And of course, you will also be notified right now with an email. You see this email have come to me, which says thank you for your order, your SAP store ID that they are telling me. Yes. So that is what is being done. And now the next step will be to wait 3 to 4 hours. So perhaps latest by Monday or Tuesday is when I'm going to get my free tier activated. Yes, my free tier activated. And then I will show you the next set of steps. How can you use this free tier? In fact, allow me some time. I will also, once the 3 to 4 hour are done, I will receive the email from SAP. I will record a continuous video, a one single video of entire flow once, and put that also as part of training material to all of you. So you can activate your free tier account. Again, I'm repeating, it is a free tier account, but there are chances that you will be charged on your credit card. Now, why are we doing this? Because we want to get access of DataSphere, all the features like space management, space sharing, working with administration tools, creating users, deleting users, yes, assigning quotas, monitoring. So as an administrator, as a super user, you need a lot of these things to practice for learning, training, or to do POCs in your company. You could do that. So in that case, you can opt for free tier. Very minimal charge, but yes, again, if you buy more services, there may be some charge incur in your credit card. However, there is a $8 to $10 fees, which anyway you have to pay every month to SAP. Okay. So that was the setup process for free tier. Now let's begin now with the next set of topics. Now you can see I have done till these two stages. Now remaining two stages will be done after 4 to 5 hours, for which I will also record a video, and I will show that in the next episode. But the process is very simple. You guys can go ahead and follow this process and create your free tier to practice some of the future process. Since right now I don't have a free tier immediately, I will show you today's class some features in my company account. So I have already a company account with me. I will use that company account to show you those features which are important for us to learn. Learning should not stop because of a because of a system. So I would make sure that I arrange the right skill set and systems for all of you to learn. At least I can cover those topics for you. Maybe you are not interested in those topics. Maybe you never create a free tier for yourself. Maybe you never have a company account. Maybe you just learn this some of the delta features which I'll show you. But the major work you can anyway do in the free trial or free experience account, which you anyway can do. But as a trainer, it's my duty to cover all the features for you. So let's start with data access control. What is data access control? What is the use of data access control? So in the past, somebody asked me about security. Anubhav, we are having lots of data in DataSphere stored like data warehouse. Is there any way I can secure my data? Can we do some kind of controlling of my data? Is it possible or not? So that's where we have the data access control. What is data access control? It allows more granular access of the data. So imagine in your company you have built a datasphere system and you are storing now lots of data in your tables. Imagine EPM tables which we created in last class, lots of data is there. Now in the EPM table itself we have org data like sales organization, we have country, yes, like this. Now what do you want? You want to reuse this data, but there are managers or sales representatives working in different sales organization. One is working in 1001, 1005, 1007. So whenever this employee, this sales representative access the data from DataSphere in Analytic Cloud or do reporting, he or she should only be able to see the SAC report with sales data related to 1001 sales organization. On a same note, he or she should only be able to see for 1005 and he or she should only be able to see 1007. So now will you create three set of tables? Will you create three tables to store data for these sales organizations separately? And if you have 20 sales organizations, will you create 20 database tables to store each sales org data separately? Anyone? If you have 50 sales organization, will you create 50 database tables to store sales or sales data for different sales organization in different tables? You cannot, right? You cannot. If you have 25 or 80 countries you have business, you can't create 80 database table for each country for storing the country specific sales data. You can't. Data will be in single table. That's a sales table. But now what you want? You want these people to access only the relevant data corresponding to their sales organization or country. Yes. So in that case, what you can do, you can use tables, build a view. This is the real power of a view. Why we use view in softwares? So the another benefit of views is they provide security. Remember, security is never applied on table. They're always applied on view. So what I will do is I will create something called data access control, dark. Yes. And this dark I will put attached to a view. This dark will put a lock. Yeah, it's a like a lock on data. So that will allow me row level access of my data. And this dark will be associated with a dark table. So we need to create a dark table, this data access control table, which will control the permissions for the user. So that is what we will be doing. So we will be creating a table. That table we will be utilizing to know who has access to what data. Yeah. And then what will happen? The moment you allow the people to view the stories in Analytic Cloud, so then you will create a story in Analytic Cloud. What will happen at runtime? System will automatically check that this user belongs to which sales organization. This will be passed, and at runtime, system will only give the data to this SSE story where this user is running only for sales organization 1001. So these are the artifacts which we will be creating. So let me go ahead and show that now. So it allows more granular control of the data to us at row level. So we avoid creating so many tables and have a flexible approach to provide corresponding data to reports, which is SSE, and datasphere at runtime. So at runtime, your data will be filtered. Any user viewing data will see only the rows for which they are authorized. Yes, based on a specific criteria. Now, criteria could be sales organization, country, purchase organization, distribution channel, division, shipping point. It could be anything. Depending cost center, profit center. Yes, it could be anything depending on your use case. Now it will be applied on artifacts in the data layer. Cannot be overruled. Data access control are defined once and can be applied to multiple artifacts in the data layer. Okay, so this will be the process which we need to follow. So let us go ahead and see this in action. Now remember, once you apply DAC on a view, it will cascade effect to all the consumers of the view. What do we mean by that? The consumers of the view. The consumer, I mean, guys, let's say this view is used in a story. So people will also see only the data in the story also for this corresponding sales organization, which means it will cascade the effect. Suppose this view is being used by other view. So it will also cascade the effect there. So on top of this sales view, let's say you are joining this data with opportunity, sales opportunity or sales leads. Yeah. So what will happen? The view will only give data at runtime corresponding to this sales organization when this user is accessing. So the join will also be considered with this condition on top of it. So basically it's a row level filtering, row level security, which we are taking care of. So let me go ahead and perform and create a data access control. But before we create data access control, let's understand our scenario. So we're going to switch over back to the system. And if you remember, we created a sales order view. So let me just show you the sales order view. So we created this, let's say test sales order. This was our sales order view. Sorry, it is a table. I'm sorry. I need to check the view. So we have the sales order view. Let me just come down here. Test sales view. Yeah, this one. So let me open this view and show you what we have inside. Why it's not opening? Something is wrong. Okay. Sometimes you get stuck. It's okay. Yeah, it opened now. And yes, we are just this view we created earlier. We just have sales order and sales order item join. Now, if I preview this data, watch out how many records it will show me now. So you see, it is just loading the data. Let me note down the number of records it shows me. So I'll preview the data. You will see here the number of records it has. It is taking a bit of time to show the number of records, which is okay. We can just wait. delay data viewing. Okay, let me refresh quickly. Okay, let's see now. I just want to count the number of records. So you will see here the number of records. The view is returning at the moment by joining the tables 1930. Let's note down this number. Okay. Now, in this data, if you see, we will have something called sales organization. So we have a sales org column. You see this sales org column. Now, what I want today, I want to create a data access control based on the sales organization. To be able to do it, we will go back to the data builder and we will create now a database table which will control the data access control for that particular object. So I'll first create a table. So let's name this table as a DAC, data access control table for sales. I will add columns. I will add the user and I will add, let's say, sales organization. Now suppose in your company there is a requirement to also check based on country. Yes, check data based on country. You can add country. You have requirement to check it based on the based on, let's say, the cost center. You can add cost center. So likewise, you can add all the columns which you want to compare or do the filtering on the raw data level, and then you can make that as a composite key, and then you can deploy your table. So let's deploy my table. DAC for sales. I save it. And now once the table is deployed, we get this data editor to edit the data. Okay, let me deploy. I just saved it last time. Deploy means activation. It will now deploy the table and I'll go to data editor. Now here I will maintain my user ID and combination for which user have what permissions, that I will maintain in this. So if you are using experience account, what you can do, how you find your mail ID, go here, go to settings. So don't use your personal Gmail ID, that will not work. You see this email ID? This is the email ID you should use. That's your actual email ID for DataSphere account. So I will give permission to myself that if I am using this, I will have permission for sales organization EMEA and APJ only. Yes, maybe country is DE Germany and let's say China. Cost center is 1003 1005. So likewise, I can maintain many combinations. So for this user, this is the email ID of the user. What are the sales organization and country this user have access to? Yes, this user have access to the data of this one. Yeah. So that we maintain here. And what we will do as a next step, we will just save the data. Now, when you guys are practicing, do not use my Gmail ID, my email ID or your Gmail ID. Check the email ID from the top right corner for your account. We maintain this data now. This is our base for accessing the data. So next time when I apply the data access control based on this table, eventually when user run the view, they will only and only see the data corresponding to the sales organization maintained over there. So now I'm going to go back and I will search for data access control on the left. This feature you can practice in the trial account also, unlike the experience account which we are using. Let me create a new data access control. Let's call it as DAC, data access control for sales by org. I will go to permission entity and I will choose my database table which I've just created, DAC for sales. This is the table we just created few seconds ago. I will choose sales organization as my criteria for filtering the data. If I have a requirement based on country or cost center, I can choose multiple combinations. But right now I'll go with sales organization. Click on select. What is my identifier column for user? It is user column. What is the business entity name? Sales org. That is okay. And then I can just deploy. This is my step number 2. Step number 1, create a DAC table. Step number 2, create a DAC itself. Associate the DAC table with the DAC and specify your criteria and your user ID. So you see here, permission entity must include identifier column, user ID recognized by your identifier formed as my email ID. It is also showing. So the same email ID we maintained there, if you remember. Now, once the deck is created, our next step is to apply the deck on the view. So let's go back to the view. So now we are telling the view, hey view, do not give a free flow of data to anyone. According to the user, please give the rows according to that user. So we'll go back to the view, and that's the main advantage of a view. You will never be able to apply deck data access control on a table. It will always be done on a view. So now you see, when you scroll down to the right side in the view section, you see data access control. This is where the magic happens. You click on plus button, and now you see this is my DAC which I just created, DAC sales by org. Anubhav, can I use one DAC for multiple views? Yes. That is why everything is modular. You can use one DAC for multiple views. Yes, one data access control for multiple views. And you can also use multiple data access control in a single view. Yes, in a single view. I select this, click OK, and now you see I've got my criteria sales org. I will now do the mapping. So I'll say my data set, my data coming from the view. Please filter all the sales organization data coming from the view based on the sales organization maintained in my DAC definition. Yes. So in my DAC definition, if you remember, I maintain EMEA and APJ. So earlier, the number of records which it was fetching was 930, which was everything, free flow of data. But now if I deploy these changes, what will happen? At runtime, the moment you do data preview, or the moment you try to run a report or a dashboard now on top of it, system will go ahead inside the check. It will check against the sales organization maintained in the system. It will compare and check. And then it will filter data according to the definition. So for my email ID, we maintain two sales organization, EMEA and APJ. Let me preview the data. So earlier when we tested, the number of record counts were how many? And now let's see how many record counts will come. So let's preview the data here from the view, coming out of the view. So if my data access control is working correctly, I should get less number of records, and that too only for EMEA and APJ. Let's see what does it give me. After DSC for EMEA and APJ, you can see the record count, how much is coming. 1443. 1443. You can clearly see it has now abandoned. It has abandoned many records. Let's say for other regions, America region, it has abandoned those records now. So if you go back also and check on the right side, there's some problem with data preview today. It's very slow. So if you scroll also on the right side and check, actually you will eventually find that it is filtering actually. It is only giving you the data corresponding to EMEA and APJ. That is what it is doing. So you can also cross check, cross validate that. So this is how you can implement data access control in SAP DataSphere. Any questions on data access control, anyone? So you see EMEA, only EMEA is coming. There is no US coming. So there's a question, there will be multiple tables, and suppose if the user join, then how do we assign the user to DAC table? So for that you can create also a data flow. Remember data flow? You can execute data flow. If a new user onboards, you can create a data flow for that. to basically maintain an entry for that user automatically in this table, and then you can schedule that with a task chain. Yeah, with a task chain. So every night it will read all the users, and it will accordingly check their sales organization and create an entry in your DAC. This is what we can do for automating the process. So anything you want to automate, you don't want manual, you can do this. But usually security is manual process. If you look at today also in your BW system, you are creating roles, then the basis person, the security guy, is creating the profiles with that role, and then they are granting the role manually to the user, right or not? Are you granting the roles automated way in the night to the users? No, they are being carefully granted. Securities has to be done carefully, it has to be thought through, it has to be done carefully. Yeah, that is what we do. Okay, cool. So now let's move on then. So this was about the data access control. So let's move to the next topic. The next topic is called cross space sharing. What is cross space sharing? Cross space sharing allows you to share the data between multiple spaces. So you remember we had a space that in experience account we just have one space. There is no multiple spaces. But if we have a free tier or productive account, as a administrator, we can, or as a space administrator, that's a real role name, we can create multiple spaces and manage the same. Yes, we can create multiple spaces and manage these multiple spaces across. Okay, that is what we can do. So as a space administrator, we can create multiple spaces and manage multiple spaces. Now we can share data between multiple space. One example could be that we have all currency rates maintained in one space. Yes, so which is finance. So let's say you have a finance space where you maintain all the currency rates. So ideally, finance department will provide currency rates to other departments like sales, procurement, yes, sales, procurement, HR. To all of them, it is the finance department which will provide the currency rates. So we maintain currency tables in finance space and share it with other spaces. Remember, we don't want to duplicate data. We never want to duplicate our data. We don't want data redundancy. That is why we do cross space sharing. Okay, that is why in SAP DataSphere we do cross space sharing. Always design your things properly, and the proper mechanism to design the things is very clear, that you should have maximum reusability of the data. You don't want to duplicate store your data, and space sharing is one of the best way to control that. Okay, that is the way you can control that. Now we can share data builder table view with other spaces and allow space members to use it as a source of their objects. So we can share a data builder table and view with another space to allow that space member to use it as a source for their objects. Our space is a secure area, and its entities and other objects cannot be seen in other spaces until or unless you choose to. Yeah. When we share an entity to another space, users in that space can use it as a source for their views and other objects. That is what can happen. So now, one of the very important thing, how that can work together. So I already told you, in companies there are multiple spaces for multiple teams. One team can build data and data model, another team can reuse that. So let's say there is a space called sales space. Example, there is a space called sales space. In this sales space, you have created a sales view, you have created a products view, you have created an opportunity view, sales opportunity. And then on top of these views, you've created other view by reusing this view, sales opportunity. Yes. Now, out of these everything what you created, let's say sales and product data needs to be used by another space. Let's call it as finance team wants to use your sales data for accounting. So what we can do, we can just go ahead and share this sales and product data with finance, so they will have access to the data accordingly. So this sales view is basically coming from the another space. Yes, from the another space. And then this products view also coming from the another space. And now finance team can reuse this data with their accounts data, with their general ledger data, and they can build another view on top of it, like this. Yeah. So this way, one space have the original data, which is coming from the database table, and views are being built, and these views are being shared. Now, if you have a data access control here, that will also be applied when the data sharing is happening to the another space. Okay. Now, let's learn how do we share an object and how do we use a shared object. Very simple it is. You go back, let's say this is the view I want to share with other. So where is my sales view? Here it is. I want to share this view with others. So I click this and I click the share button. And now I choose my space ID. So when I do F4, you see these are the spaces we have. Wow. Wow, guys. I'm sure in this you will also find your space ID. Yeah, in your space ID. So I can choose now your space ID and I can share this with you. Yeah. And when I share this with you, you can probably go back and reuse it. So let me see if I can find my space ID there or not. So I created another account last class, if you remember. So this is the space ID I have. You see, I click and select. Yeah. And I say share. So you can choose whether they have read access or write access, what access level they have. Yeah. So now I've shared it with one space. You see this one. So if you go back, you see now there is a small icon here. This is indicating now that it is being shared with other spaces. You can click this icon and you can also find out what it has been shared with. So let me now log in with another account. Yes, and show you whether the sales data is accessible in that account or not. So I will go back to another tab. I'll pause my screen because I have sensitive data to log in my user ID password. But I just open another window and I will log in here with this another user which belongs to another space. Yeah. So okay, I'm good now. So let me go back here and I put this and I click on login. I'm logging in now. Okay, I logged in now. This is another account. You can see just have another account, fresh account, which I just registered last class. I can now go back and go to data builder and I just create a new graphical view. And now you see we have an option called shared object. You expand that, views, you see, voila, there you go. You see GE 42327. Yeah, if you go back now, you see here GE 42327, same space ID. Yeah, same space ID. So now I can reuse that. I can drag and drop. Now, similarly, you see finance data. Yes, finance data, product data. So other spaces have shared this with me. So anything which is shared with your space, you can find that over here. You can find all of that over here. I hope it is clear, everyone, how to do the space sharing. Any question on space sharing, please feel free to ask at this time. Easy? Okay. So with that, let's take a quick break here for 5 minutes and then we will resume back our session again with the topic called system monitoring tool, data integration monitor tool. It's a very powerful tool. It allows you to do variety of stuff. There were many questions in the past asked by you guys. I will try to answer all of that. And to be able to actually right now when I see this data integration monitor tool, it doesn't have much data. So what I will be doing for this demonstration, I will use my company account because my company account have lots of objects. We are regularly working in our company with lots of different datasphere objects. So I can show you my company account to see some content inside, because right now here this is an experience account which I'm using for learning purpose. It doesn't have much content because it doesn't have much uses of views and things like that. But don't worry, to show something to demonstrate properly, I will use my company account so that you guys will be able to learn it properly. Having said that, let's take a quick break for 5 minutes and we can join back after the short break and we will resume back after the break. I'll take a break and come back after the break, everyone. Okay, everyone, please come back after the short break. So let's move on to the next topic. So our next topic is data integration monitor. Now we will learn how to use different monitoring tools in the tenant to understand your health of the tenant as well as monitor your data integration tasks. Remember, we have configured multiple task chains in the previous episode, created data flows. What if you as an administrator or as a team lead, you want to check how each developer's tasks are performing, how the ETL processes are they running properly or not, are there any issues, how much time are they taking to run, how much memory are they consuming, is there something hampering the overall system or consuming a lot of memory. You want to check all of that. You can check all of that with the help of data integration monitor. So we will be covering different topics with related to administration now, which includes data integration monitor, the system monitor. We will also learn how to configure our tenant for optional monitoring like query monitoring, query analysis to check what are the most expensive queries in the system. We will talk about working with database analysis user and also learn how do you finally navigate to your HANA database behind the scene. So remember, it is eventually running on top of BTP, and inside BTP there is a HANA database in which DataSphere is storing all the data. Now, one important lesson and one important note here to make, that some of the features which I will demo today to you, they will not work in experience account. You cannot use them in experience account because experience account does not provide you full access to all these features which I will demo to you now. So what is data integration monitor? Data integration monitor is a central place in SAP DataSphere where you would monitor data application for remote tables, monitor data flows, task chain executions as well. You would add and monitor view persistency as well as monitor queries that are sent from your DataSphere tenant to your remote connected source. So remember, we have used some live data sources and we have referenced some remote source tables like table from HANA database. So when DataSphere access these remote tables, how much time is these remote access is taking? What was the query which was fired and how much time that query is taking? All that performance analysis, if you want to do, you can do it with the data integration monitor. Data integration monitor consists of 5 different monitors separated by these tabs. As you can see in screenshot, there are 5 different monitors. Let's go through each specific task that is achieved by each of these monitors. So the first one which will come here, let me also go to the system and quickly talk about them so we can see that at least in the trial account you can also see them over here. You see these 5 different tabs. So first is called remote table monitor tab. The remote table monitor tab will let you replicate the data for remote tables that have been deployed in the context of your space. So if you have used any remote table like SPFLI table we have used, or a business partner table which we use from remote source like HANA, you can actually see and monitor them over here. So whenever you are modeling and if you deploy a remote table, you would be able to control the data replication task for your remote table through remote table monitor in data integration monitor. This replication can either be snapshot based replication or you can also set real-time replication via the change data capturing, that is CDC. That's the first one. The second one is called view persistency monitor. You see this view persistency monitor. So whenever you are creating views within your data sphere, you can also decide whether you want to persist the data of these views in your space. Remember, view persistency will improve performance if you use some views like sales view or any other views from a remote source. Every time you are run your model, execute your view, the data is fetched at runtime from the source. But when it comes to view persistency monitor, the data will be you can go and check here whether these views are persisted, how much memory are these views persistency are taking. You can also schedule the view persistency directly from here as well centrally. You would do such an activity to ensure that they are performed better when you are modeling views in your data sphere and you are consuming them. The next one is called flow monitor. So we created multiple data flows with even Python script, right? So you can monitor all of them in here. So whenever you have data flows or whether you have replication flows in your SAP data sphere that you have deployed in your space, flow monitor would be the place where you would monitor the execution of the flows, not just the present ones but also the past ones. So in the past, let's say you had some flows running which are now no more running, you can also go back and check the logs of your past flows. Additionally, you would also be able to run and schedule your flows directly from the flow monitor. So you see we have run and schedule option. So let's say my company, I have 10 flows. I want to run all the 10 flows with the click of a single button. Somebody asked me this question, Anubhav, if I have 10 different flows, I want to run all of them, can I run them? Do I need to go to them one by one and start the execution? Answer is no. You can do it directly from the flow monitor over here. So all the flows that are deployed in your space would then be available here for monitoring, and you would come here to look at the execution of all your flows. The next one is called task chain monitor. This one. So what is task chain monitor? The task chain monitor, it Oftentimes, you would want to string together multiple tasks and run them, maybe as a chain, either sequentially or parallelly. You would find such a task chain for your monitoring on the screen. And the last one, or the fifth one, is called remote query monitor. As the name suggests, remote queries. Whenever queries are being fired out of your DataSphere tenant to fetch some data, it is remote query. It is a bit different from all the monitors that we have seen so far. The remote query monitor has two additional monitoring possibility. The first one is called remote table statistics, and then we have remote queries. These are the two options which we have inside. Yes, this lets you define the query execution plan to improve the performance when the data is read from remote tables. So if you have worked with classic HANA, there's something called query plan. Query plan will tell you how the data will be fetched. So there are 10 tables which are joined. First it will go to which table to fetch the data. Then it will go to which table to fetch the data. That's called query plan. So behind the scene, database will make a query plan. So that query plan you can check over here with the remote query monitor. So it has two additional monitoring capabilities. The first one is remote table statistics. The remote table statistics basically allows you lets you define query execution plan to improve the performance when the data of the when the data is read from remote tables. One thing to note here is that if the data access is set to replicate it, which means you are already persisted the data of your remote table inside DataSphere, which means in this case that particular statistic will be disabled. So you are not, if you already persisted the data in DataSphere, the data is already within the DataSphere. It is not going at all to the remote source. Yes, once upon a time I had one of the colleague who come to me and say, Anubhav, I'm not able to find my table query which is going to fetch the remote table data outside the system in the remote query table statistics. Why? Because you already did a persistence. Persistence means you already told and DataSphere to load all the data from remote source and store it within the DataSphere that you already did. So how will the system go and get the remote table at runtime? It will not be. Yes. So this is only applicable to the federated data sets. Federated means when you are getting data on the fly from a remote source like BW or HANA. Only in that case this table statistics will be usable for you. These three types of statistics could create our record count on a simple one, which creates basic statistics for columns such as minimum, maximum, null. So you can actually see different statistics over here. Yes. So what is the minimum time? What is the maximum time? So there are different statistics which you will be able to read it. Right now in our experience account, I don't have the data to show, but don't worry, when I do the demo in the system, I will show you actually my company system, because in my company system we're doing a lot of stuff and you will be able to analyze and understand this data. Okay, now remote table statistics also let you delete existing statistics that you have created. So whenever you want to create or delete, this is a place where you can come for the remote table statistics. The second capability is remote query monitor. So we have remote query monitor, this one. Yes. So in the remote query monitor, it lets you track the queries that are executed towards your remote connected sources from your space. So every time you are querying a remote source, you would see that your statements are recorded in remote query monitor. Additionally, this is a place where you would find statistics for your queries like runtime, how much time the query took, the number of rows which were fetched, the status of the query, whether the query is still running or it has been already closed. This is the place to monitor your remote queries between your DataSphere and remote data sources. Suppose you are fetching data from BW system through a query, through a SQL which you've written. Remember, we've written an SQL yesterday. So that is a query. How much query is that time is taking? Is it enough or is it slow? You can come back and check all of that over here. Additionally, what would you also do to see here is actual statement that had been executed towards your remote source. So you can also find out the statements which are sent to the remote sources. In a nutshell, every time you want to track activity between your DataSphere tenant and your remote sources, you would use remote query monitor under the data integration monitor. So anything related to data incoming to your DataSphere from another system, all of that you will track, check, everything, monitor them in data integration monitor. The name itself is monitor. It's basically a tool inside DataSphere to monitor, and this is only read only information. You can't edit any information here. It's all read only. So these are the different 5 types of monitors which we have available under the data integration monitor, and that let you effectively monitor the execution of different activities in your tenant. So as a administrator, as a central person, or as a team lead of DataSphere, you can monitor everything over here at this central place. Different monitors within the data integration monitor need different privileges for you to be effectively able to monitor and execute different tasks. Whether it is a remote connection privilege or it is data integration privilege, a user that is monitoring and executing tasks need to have correct privileges to be able to perform these action. So the sort of privileges out before sort your privileges out before you are using data integration monitor. So you need to have the roles assigned in your DataSphere account in order to be able to use these integration monitor features. Okay, so in a nutshell, if I would say, the data integration monitor is a group of monitor that work in context of your space, meaning one has to select the space before accessing the monitor. That is really important. So all that monitoring data flows, you know, the task chains, everything related to the space you've chosen will be displayed there. Okay, that is what system will be doing. Okay. What roles do we require to use data integration monitor? I already told the role name. You need data integration monitor administrator role. That is the role you would require. It's called data integration privilege, or and also remote connection privilege. These are the two privileges you would need. Ask your administrator to give these roles to you: data integration monitor privilege and data connection privilege. Ask these permissions to your admin to give it to you. Then you will be able to see and work with the data integration monitor properly. Okay, so what I will do now, I have logged on to my company account now, and I will show you what is going on in my company system. I would request you to please not take any screenshots for this, because this is my company system where I'm going to show you and demonstrating you the features in my company system. So I log into my company system now, and once I log into my company system, I will switch over to the data integration monitor. You can see that. So I have the roles on the left navigation panel I've selected. Now, because I'm part of the only one space, it did not ask me for space selection, but if I'm part of multiple spaces, it'll ask me the space selections to choose. Yes. And you can look at the different monitors in the context of the space. The first one is the list of remote table monitor. Here you can see uh, here you can either replicate using the snapshot, or you could enable the real-time replication of your tables. So you can also drill down to any of the feature. So you can navigate to the additional detail page where you can not only see the current execution of or the latest execution, but previously executions which were done for the this table also. It is possible then to load the new snapshot and remove existing snapshot, or enable or disable real-time access for your tables. Additionally, you can also schedule execution of remote tables using a simple schedule. So you see we have a schedule option, or we can also give a corn expression in a manner where you can specify the corn expression, and then you can put the start date, end date, and which will tell you when will be the next run according to the corn expression that you have provided. So you can see when will be they executed, the replication will be executed. So every time you have to work with your remote table and their replication, you will have to come directly to data integration monitor and then use either the detail screen here, or use remote table monitor to select the remote table and specify the replication strategy. The next one is so you can define here remote table strategy, how the replication will be done. Next is view persistency monitor. Yes, here you can perform a similar process for view persistency, storing your tables permanently in DataSphere. If you don't see the view in the list, which means you can select the view from the add view button. So you see we have add view button, and we can choose the view. The process is very much same like a remote table. Yes, so you can choose a view and then you can configure. The next one comes is called flow monitor. The data flow monitor or the replication flow monitor, where you have the list of all the data flows in your space. So I have just one right now. Similarly schedule them for future execution. You can create a schedule there for future execution. And the last one is the page which is task chain monitor. So you can also see my task chains which I have it here. Yes, whether we want to see the status of the task chain, if the task chain execution was completed or if it failed, how did it go. This is visible in a 3 page, so you can also drill down and you can see we have a 3 page layout where we can see the step-by-step execution of the task chain and view the more details about the task chain. And on the rightmost side you can find the execution detail for the task chain and the particular runs. So you can just click here and you see this was a data flow inside my task chain which took how much time, at what time, what activity was happened, whether the status is completed or not. So that, and you can see that there was a remote table replication and after that we had a data flow. So all that information you can see it here. Finally we go to remote query monitor. So I am treating it differently because it also works a bit different from others, where you would have your remote queries. You can see all the remote queries. These are the remote queries which have been fired from your data sphere to the other remote sources. And you can also find the most basic information like execution, but also look at the SQL statement that was executed over here. And you can then go to remote table statistics. Here you can see the remote tables, and you can create and delete new statistics. You can create a statistics with a two-step process where it will first ask you to give the statistic type you want to create. Yes, what type of statistic, and then the relevant statistics will be created. So make sure you create your statistics. Please make sure that you create your statistics for remote table because they will improve the performance. So sometime your business complain that my remote table replication is taking too much time, so what to do about it. So that you can actually configure it here with the help of remote statistics. So this is how the data integration monitor will help you and support you to perform different activities in the system. So I showed you my company system where we had some information, some statistics, some things which were created in a real-time environment, so we can monitor. However, this topic you can practice in your experience account. You don't need the free tire or productive account. But the next feature which I will demonstrate will require a productive account and also require administration access. Okay, administration access. So what is the next feature is called system monitor. So let's move to system monitor. This is the main monitoring tool of datasphere, and we will look at what is the difference between the data integration monitor and the system monitor also. Administrator in the datasphere would use system monitor to take a look at performance of the tenant and monitor the storage. So I remember one of you come back to me, Anubhav, in my company we purchased datasphere and we purchased 100 GB. Now I want to know how much of this 100 GB is already utilized. You can check that over here in the system monitor, because the another block of 100 GB when you get, SAP will start charging you more. So as an administrator you want to monitor what is your total storage of your data sphere. You can also check that over here under the system monitor. Okay, that you can do. You can check the tasks, the out of memory issues. Sometimes you are storing massive data in datasphere and you already go out of memory and you need to contact SAP to increase your memory size of datasphere tenant. So that you can check, and also all the other problems across different spaces. This is a central monitoring tool in datasphere. It is tenant wide monitor. Tenant wide means it's not a space wide. So previous one was space wide. This is tenant wide, means entire system. How many spaces are there across all the spaces, what is going on in the entire system, you can check, which means only administrator at this point of time can have access to the system monitor. The name is system monitor. It is system level. The role required to access the system monitor is the SAP Datasphere administrator role. Yes, if you have SAP Datasphere administrator role, only then you can access system monitor. But for the data integration monitor, you need data integration monitor role. Yes, that role you will require, and connection monitor role you require. But for this one, you need datasphere administrator role. Hence, one thing to note: this this topic you cannot practice in experience account. You have to have a free tire account or a productive account in your company with administrator role assigned to you to practice this topic. It's a disclaimer. So this is the role that you would need to use the system monitor. The system monitor provide you a top level view of all the activities happening across the entire data sphere system. It also have navigation path to the data integration monitor that we have seen previously. The system monitor is divided into two parts. The system, the first one is called dashboard, so that there is a landing page that gives you all the information about storage, distribution, disk uses, memory utilization by spaces, and also aggregated count for failed task and out of memory issues in your tenant. So this is the dashboard that you would like to visit if there is any issue of your tenant. Somebody complained that my tables are not replicating, or my all table replication failed last night in all the spaces. Yes, that could be because of memory issue. You're running out of memory. You can check all of them here. The available information is the is for further delineated into the top 5 spaces that are contributing out of memory errors, or the number of failed tasks in the last 7 days, last 24 hour, last 48 hour. You can check all of that. So this is a really helpful tool for you to go and check about health of your tenant. The dashboard is thus culmination of all the information that is available for your monitoring, and this is the place where you would start your monitoring journey. The second tab will be called System Monitor, provides you the information about the tasks that have been executing in the tenant. Just to note that administrators has access to the System Monitor. Only the administrators guys can access the System Monitor. Okay. So that is, I am stating again, you need to have administration privileges. If you don't have that, you can't see this, which means in the experience account, you can't practice this topic. Okay. So here you'll also find the information about the executions of all the tasks with their execution statistics like duration, memory consumption, status of the task, number of records that are being fetched. Furthermore, it is also possible to look at the statements that have been executed owning to these tasks and then classify them as an expensive statement. So one task can have multiple statements. Yes, it is possible. So one task can have multiple statements. So all of these statements you will be able to check that. If you have worked with the SAP ABAP system, there is a transaction called SQLM, SQL Monitor Tool, which allows you an aggregated performance analysis of your top used queries and top entry points based on database time. It is very similar to that, very similar to that, but it is in the data sphere. So you will do this if you want to fetch more insights other than the system monitor shows you. The second configuration is expensive statement. Sorry, excuse me, just need 1 second. Sorry guys, my health is not okay, but let's continue anyway. Okay, now, so you would do this if you want to fetch more insight other than what system monitor shows you. The second configuration is expensive statement tracing, which is the configuration that controls the statement that are classified as expensive statement. So you will be able to see them under the system monitoring tab. So this is what I was referring. So now what I will do is I will just go ahead and show you the demo for this system monitoring tool. Yeah. So let's go ahead and look at the demo for the system monitoring tool in the system, where we will just go ahead and check all the monitoring capabilities. Yeah. So let me take you to the demo. I just switch over to my system to see the demo for the system monitor. So I go there on the left, you see I'm using my company account, and I go to system monitor. You see this option? This option will not be available in the trial account, only free tier account. So here you can see the dashboard, and it is showing the total overall storage distribution. So how much data is there in the space? 81.89%. 22 GB has been utilized already. Yes, it also shows you the top 5 spaces, how much space each space is utilizing, how many tasks have failed on daily basis. You see daily chart, very much a kind of a dashboard for administrator to look at the performance. You can also see the top 5 task consumption, top 5 statement in terms of memory consumption. Yes, top 5 data replication tasks, how many tasks have failed overall. 81 tasks have failed in this system overall. So here is where you can see the disk uses by space. You can also go to logs. You can see the task logs and statement logs. So you can see what are the tasks which were executed: remote table replication, data flow replication, yes, remote table replication, yes, all the tasks which are or view replication, view persistency, all these tasks they were executed, what type of task it was, what was the activity performed, which was the space that task was executed, and what was the object associated to this task. So if you click here to the activity, it will drill down and it will take you to the task detail. It can also, you can drill down from here to the object detail. You can see the statements. We can click on view, and now it takes you to the statements which were fired under that task. So here you can see the statement duration, object type, activity, which was the schema behind the scene in the database. You can clear the filter and you can see all the statements which were fired from our database. So if you want to see more detail, you can see how much memory consumption it had, how much time it took. So all these details you can see for each task. You can go to each task and then you can correspondingly check the statements in that task, because one task can have multiple. You can also go to settings and configure here columns of some statistics which you want to see. You can filter. So you can go by start time. I want to see a particular task, how much time it took, for when it was started. Different filter options are also available for us to filter the data over here. So this is basically the system monitor, what you can use to monitor the overall health of your overall health of your company system. Yes, it's a very very powerful tool, very powerful tool. Yes, so that is what the system monitor actually does. Okay, so now I'll move on to the next topic, which is which is called system administration topic. Now, what is the system administration topic does? It has two subtopics inside. So the first topic here we have is database analysis user, and then there will be one more topic under this. So now the database analysis user that we have here, we have, as we can look over here, this could be used to access the SAP HANA cockpit. So you all know the DataSphere is running on top of BTP platform, and BTP platform has a HANA database, and whatever you're doing in DataSphere, eventually all the data is getting stored inside that HANA database in the BTP platform. Now, if you want to go to the database level and see what is going on in the database, you can actually do it with the database analysis user. So SAP will give you a database analysis user which has only read permissions in the database. You can go to the database level and you can see what is happening over there. There you will also have access to the two important tools. One is accessing SAP HANA database cockpit, and one is SAP HANA cloud monitoring views. So these are the two analysis you can also look at, which will help you to analyze overall health of your database, how your database is doing, how much memory it is taking, which schema are your all tables are being stored, all of these, the broad limitations, the administration and monitoring of underlying cloud environment database. You can check the behavior, everything under this tool. So in the past, if some of you work with HANA database, in HANA Studio, we used to have an administration tool. It is very similar to that in the cloud. In the cloud, on the internet, you can also view and monitor your HANA cloud instance. You will be able to analyze diagnosis files, and you can also as well as query the system using HANA Database Explorer, because database analysis user has the read privileges for the underlying instance. With this user, you will be able to make any configuration changes also to the HANA Cloud instance. This also remains outside the borders and limitation of database analysis user. So as a consultant, as a DataSphere consultant, you will not do these things. But as a trainer, it is my duty to tell you if there is a problem, there is a roadblock in your work. How can you help? How can you analyze? How can you configure? How can you figure out what is going on where? Yes, so that you'll be able to do it. So I will be now taking you to the demo to show you this database administrator user also. Now you can see this HANA cockpit also, very important part. This is your SAP HANA cloud database, which is storing all the data behind the scenes for your DataSphere, where you can monitor your HANA database. So in this tool, you will be able to read only all the HANA statistics related to your DataSphere tenant. So with the help of this, you will be able to do monitoring, error analysis, look at the trace file, check the performance monitor, workload analysis, users and role analysis in your HANA tenant. So all of that behind the scene, you have a full access, transparent access for your underlying database, HANA database. Yeah, that you will be able to do. So let me go ahead and show you the demo now for this. So for this, I will now log in back again to my company account. I go to system, configuration, and I go to monitoring. And you can see currently I have selected the space. So I am only able to see the data for this space. So as a administrator, you can go back and change your space. Then you will be able to see the data for that particular space. So you have to choose your space first in the monitoring section. Then only you will be able to see the data. So you can see now here we have enabled expensive statement tracing. So any query going to my database, if that is taking or exceeding the memory threshold or duration threshold, which means if it is exceeding 1 GB of memory, or if it is taking 1 lakh, more than 1 lakh microseconds of time, please bring that query in my monitor. Please notify me if any of the query is taking more than this much time and this much memory consumption. So I will be notified accordingly. So I would request you to please not change these settings in your company system because they may affect and impact your system resources. You need to be very careful. So you can monitor the classify expensive statements and make sure that you set this optimally, because if you set it too low, then basically you will be flooded with all the expensive statements. Everything will come under expensive statement. So too much filtering is also should be avoided to fetch the list out of expensive statements. So make sure you always set this in an optimum way, discuss with your administrator and then set it accordingly. So now what I will do next is to show you the system configuration, database administration. So I go back again and now I go to database access, database analysis user. Under this tab, we go to, you see the user which have been created, and also create new users to connect to database. We can create new user here by specifying the name, whether user have access to a particular schema or not. Additionally, we can also specify the expiration date of this user so that this user will not be misused in case you forget. So once the user is create, we will quickly create one for our demo. So let me just quickly create a new user for our demo. So I just give a name, open SAP, let's say. I click on create button, and now you can see we have got a database user created for our purpose. So this is the database host, username and password. And now you can use that user to connecting to your database. So click on this user and say open SAP HANA cockpit. So it will use this user which I've just created for all of you to connect to your HANA database cockpit, where you can analyze the overall performance of your HANA cloud database. It will open the HANA Cloud Cockpit. So you have to first create a user and then you have to go to HANA Cloud Cockpit to go to the monitoring. So when you go eventually in the monitoring, on the right side you can see here. So it is my company system. So unfortunately I cannot show you the sensitive data of my company, but you can already make out from the screenshot that it is a monitoring for your HANA Cloud. So this kind of a dashboard you will get. where you can see overall health of your HANA database. So how is your HANA database? What is the currently is your HANA database is running or not? How much of the CPU usage was there? What was the peak usage over the time? What is the total in-memory usage? Yes, so you are using a HANA database. Let's say you have purchased 200 gigabyte database. How much of 200 gigabyte is already exhausted already? How much data is in the memory? How much data is in the hard disk? Yes, you see use memory, resident memory. So remember, HANA is a in-memory database with the RAM and a hard disk. So here you can also see the statements which has come to HANA regularly. You can go drill down and check these statements and the time taken by these statements to execute in the database. So that way you can also analyze and troubleshoot everything which if in case something has gone wrong, you will be able to analyze that. So that is the benefit of this SAP HANA Cloud Cockpit Access to monitor your health of the database behind the scene. So in summary, what we saw is we saw the data integration monitor to look at within your space all the monitoring capabilities. But when it comes to system monitor, it offers a dashboard with the KPIs to let you drill down to individual task and execution and statements. We also learned about expensive statement tracing and also the threshold configuration to classify if a statement is expensive or not for your company. The database analysis user and the navigation to SAP HANA Cloud Cockpit. So now I hope you all were able to understand the data integration monitor tool as well as the data administration tool, which only the administrators will have the access to. So any questions, anyone, before we close today's class? So our next class we will start with business layer. So our data builder layer is finished now, including the administration capabilities and accessing your underlying HANA database. But in the next session onwards, we will start with business builder layer. Any questions before we close today's episode?
Hi, Anubhav. This is Ram Babu. Uh, uh, in general, in real time, is there any separate team for these admin activities like basis team or developer can take care of it?
Yes, there will be so not a team actually. Here there will be
Okay.
users. So in your company, usually you will have users. So one set
Mhm.
of users will be just doing the administration task, and another set of users will
Mhm.
be doing the data builder. And sometimes I've seen bigger teams. So one team only work with data
Mhm.
builder, all these sections. One team only work with business
Mhm.
builder, all these sections. Yes, and then there will be a group of user, two or three people who are earlier the basis people in your BW team. They will do the
Yes.
administration task. Yeah, so you see in the experience account I don't have administration option, but if you remember we opted for a free tire account today. That tire account you will have administration option, you will be able to. That's why I opted
Yes,
the tire.
because why I'm asking, like earlier, basis team have a lot of work. Since it is moved to cloud, there not much work for them. Even this kind of work can manage by any developer
Yes,
as well.
yes. That
That's
is
the
that is your
reason.
correct understanding. So slowly basis people what they are asking me, Anubhav, can I learn coding? Can I learn ABAP? Can I learn ABAP on HANA? Can I learn RAP, CAPM, BTP? Because they're not finding good opportunities now. Because in the cloud you do
Yeah.
not, most of the basis tasks have been now carried out by vendor. SAP takes care of that.
Yes. Even as a developer, if we can learn these things also perfectly, then we will get an opportunity, right?
Absolutely. So if you have the right role and access as a developer, you can also take care of these activities, these minute activities like analysis,
Yes.
system load performance, like that. You can also do that.
Yeah. Yeah. One more thing, Anubhav, are you going to cover like any non-SAP, how to deal with the non-SAP systems like Oracle, MS SQL, and also SAP ECC? What are the ways to fetch the data from these systems? Because
So
most of the clients not went for cloud. Most of them are still using legacy systems like MS SQL and Oracle. They wanted to have this data spare. How we can
so I
suggest
think you
them?
have recently joined the class. Please check the previous class video. I've already covered this topic of connecting with S4 Cloud, HANA Cloud, and ECC system.
Yes, for HANA and Cloud ECC, I'm not sure. Okay, let me check.
So that
And
is same
MS
in any
SQL.
ABAP based system, whether BW, BPC,
Okay.
ECC, S4, all same integration process.
Yeah, in case of HANA systems, there will be a chance to
Even
remove the
non-HANA
access
also,
and all.
non-HANA like ECC, ECC on
Even
Oracle, you can same process because we are not connecting to the
okay.
database directly. We are connecting to ABAP layer. ABAP layer is giving us the data.
Anubhav, do you have any use cases where you have presented DataSphere successfully and the company and the clients accepted it?
Sorry, can you please repeat?
Do you have any use case that a client accepted DataSphere? Because we are having a lot of pushback from the client, and we are last week only we suggested DataSphere, and because of the additional expense, they're not willing to take it. So if you have any use case, if you have anything that you can share, and that will help us
Uh-huh.
to
So point one, the
promote.
biggest use case is the cloud.
Okay.
Okay, that is point one. Companies are moving.
Mm-hmm.
See what happened in COVID. The moment COVID hit, suddenly everybody started working. That's when
Mm.
company realized the power of cloud. Because an on-premise system usually doesn't give you free access of data. So today, data is the gold, and you want to access your data everywhere, anytime, anywhere, on any platform you want to access data. Will that be possible from your traditional on-premise system? Can you access your BW data on mobile phone?
Yeah, no, you can't do that. You
Cannot.
need to have a application for that, and also
Yes.
you need to have
So,
a
but if you
VDI
have data in
interface.
DataSphere, you can, because it's cloud.
Yeah, okay,
You can open it in a mobile
okay.
phone. I seen companies building Android application, and the backend they are
Hmm.
using as DataSphere. They are pulling the data
So,
from
so
DataSphere by creating an API. I will also show that, and then you can build an Android application on top of it. I'll not show Android application, but I'll show you how can you expose data via API through DataSphere.
okay, okay,
So
got it.
that is the one
Okay.
major use case. So cost is another factor, but functionality is another. You cannot say I'll not go with this because of a cost. See, you need a car
Yeah,
to go
that's
to
true. That's
office.
true. Yeah,
The cost of
yeah,
that
the
car
same
could be
thing.
anything. Maybe today you cannot afford the car. You are go to office by bike. But someday, other day, you will feel that you need a car in your life. Because if there is a rainfall, if there is a high sunlight, yes, if there is the summer season, there's so much of hot environment, you need a car. You need comfort.
Correct.
So it's the same thing. If a company you suggested, they're not going because of cost, it's okay. Someday they will realize that they will only come back to you. Please tell us, please suggest us what to do. That time you again
Yeah,
put,
maybe I missed this.
they will
I
go for
missed
it.
this part in your initial sessions. But one question: uh, there is no data limitation for this, right? As it is on cloud, we can have any um, amount of data to be consumed, correct?
It is a data warehouse tool and there is no limitation. But only limitation is more money you put, more storage space you have.
More storage you'll get. Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Anuma, one question on data integration monitor. So in the view persistent section tab, only if you add the view, we could able to monitor it, or automatically whenever we persistent view is created, we can see it over there. You showed somewhere in the plus symbol. So like
Yes.
it's we need to add every time to.
That was for the monitoring. Let me go there. So view persistence by default you'll see for everything.
So because I
You see,
maybe
I have a
okay,
currency view
default,
which
okay.
is persisted. By default, I see the statistics. Yeah. What you are talking about is for the queries. This one. Here you have to create a remote analysis. Here you have to create a statistics.
Okay, you mean to say for remote table, if there's a performance issue, we could create a statistic so that the performance will be improved,
For a
right?
system. For a system, not table.
Okay,
So you see, from HANA Cloud System, I am maybe accessing 20 tables. So will I go and create a statistic 20 times? No, I'll do it at system level. So HANA Cloud is a system. I'm telling system, please start tracking all the remote table statistics which belongs to this system. Get me a record count of each table in this which is being remotely available in the remote system. Give me a record count. I can create that. So you see, it will create a statistic. Now you drill down and you see your statistics. So these are the remote tables. It has got the record count, yeah, for that particular system. In that system, how many tables are there and what is the record count? So you see, record count for sales order. We only use that particular table in our account from that remote source. So it has got me a statistics for that. It has got the record count for the sales order table. So from that system, if you have used 20 tables, it will fetch and load record count for those 20 tables in your data sphere as a statistics.
Sorry, a little confused here. Maybe that creation of statistics will improve the performance, right?
No, it is a statistic. It is just to see.
Okay, but somewhere during the class, maybe I might have misunderstood. You said like if the remote tables are taking longer time and it affects the performance during the statistics, I think it will improve the
If
performance. I
remote
hope
table are
maybe I might
taking
have
too much
misunderstood.
time, what you can do is
Uh-huh.
basically, if remote table are taking too much time, what we can do when remote table taking time, you need to persist the remote table. That will improve the performance.
And is there any possibility like you will cover little bit of data lake? Maybe you said in one of the classes you will cover it little later. Is it possibilities are there, Anuma?
If I have some example, I will cover that. Okay. All right. So this comes to the end of our today's class. Guys, simple bottom line. I'll tell you simple rule. Integration monitor. Look at the name. Monitor. Just to monitor, just to view. It will not help you to improve performance. It will just tell you what is as is state in the system. What's going on in the system. How much time each task, each remote table, view persistency, they are taking. You have to go and analyze and see if that time which is it is taking, it should take that much time or not. Yes, if it exceeds your expectation, then you have to do something about it. Otherwise, no. It is these are just monitors, just to view, just to know what's going on. Yeah, that is what it is doing. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. See you next week. Goodbye.